The telephone pole is about 35 yards away, and this is maximum brightness. Take note of the outside perimeter of the glass. You'll note that the outside bricks are moving a little bit faster than the inside, indicative of slight fisheyeing. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Maximum brightness. Pew! 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 Pew!
Yeah, I think it was fifth. That was a fifth and sixth.
Easy to go through a lot of ammo, huh?
Yeah, all those.
I think that's why I got
all
the
the,
22 though.
Anybody,
Yep.
was anybody who went down there to buy equipment. You'd be surprised when we're walking around shopping and oh, there's a guy from the Who or something, Young Rascals or somebody. You know? Cool. Yeah. You gotta go to the main they have that stuff. They don't have
You want a
local
block
music
and a
stores
sandbag? No,
Yeah, I'm
good.
good, thanks.
really anymore. Not really. Exchange.
You can always shop, you can find that stuff, but it's real hit or miss.
Pew pew. For whatever reason, it was very difficult for me to find an illumination setting that worked well for me. It seemed like everywhere I went, I constantly had to fine-tune it to be able to pick it up a little bit easier. Pew pew. Pew. Pew pew. Pew! Well, there you have it. Trijicon Accupower 1-4 by 24 with a green segmented reticle. Made in Japan. F03879. It's decent. This misses the mark on a couple of key points. Again, it could just be down to the fact that it's a green illumination, but I don't really care for the green. I've never really run a green reticle before, or green illumination, and I wasn't really sure if I was going to like it or not. It turns out I don't really care for it. My eye doesn't pick it up very well, and it just seems to be underpowered during very bright daylight environments. At night or in darker environments, it works well enough. It does draw your eye to it, and if you're using it with both eyes open, which you should be using an LPVO, especially at 1x with both eyes open, but that's a topic for another discussion. In darker environments, it works well enough to get you to use it properly. But I think I'd prefer it a little bit more if it was red, and I would prefer a different reticle to the segmented circle. These do come in a variety of different reticles. If I had the choice, I'd probably go with the mil-dot or a simpler duplex. I think that might make a big enough difference for me to enjoy it more. But that's about as hard as the negatives fall for me. 1x, eye box is pretty good. It's pretty close to a 1x. There is some fisheyeing to it. A little bit more noticeable than I think in some other scopes. At 4x, I noticed to my eye, the center is very sharp, but the outside is a little bit blurry, but nothing crazy. The eye box at 4x is mediocre. It's nothing to write home about. And in fact, the eye box in this as a whole is just, well, mediocre. If there's one thing about this scope that really hits the nail on the head, it's all of the controls. The magnification adjustment is perfect. This thing is silky smooth. It's 180 degrees, but so are most LPVOs in this category. Quick adjust eyepiece, it manages to be smooth and tight all in one. Fantastic. The illumination control, perfect. And I really love what Trijicon did with these turrets, both the elevation and the windage. They're both quick adjustable and quick reset, which is absolutely phenomenal. Everything about these are great. And if you're worried about if that hash mark is going to line up properly, it does. It lines up more than close enough that if you needed to, in a pinch, you're going to be able to not only count it by sight, but count it by hearing it. These are excellent. One thing I noticed that with the windage turret is that the hash mark for your 0 is slightly below 9 o'clock. And the reason for that is, if you're looking through the scope, and you cant your rifle over, your eye is going to be drawn to this section right here. That's really well thought out. And again, you have the same awesome turret on your windage. How do these turrets track? The reason why everything's going to be out of focus is because this parallax is set at 100 yards and this target's at 35 or so. So I had to futz around with the ocular adjustment and the focus on the camera to try to get it as good as I got it, and this was the best result.
0. 0. 0. 0.
The turrets track like this cap screws on. Perfect. The controls on this are, without a doubt, top-notch. Everything about it feels very precise and very well thought out, and it shows. Ultimately, I like this scope, but not to the point where I'm going to swap it out on my go-to rifle. That's still reserved for my P4XI. As for you, will this fit your goals? Only you can decide. It feels excellent in hand. The glass is pretty good, and the controls are excellent. $400 for this seems pretty damn good, and hard to beat. But I would probably prefer a PST Gen 2 1-6 over this. But not only that, but I'd buy it secondhand. Probably get it for around the same price as you can get this. The PST is an incredible LPVO for the price. But is that what you want? I can't answer that question. For me, that's probably the route I would go. However, if you bought one of these for $400, or in my case, secondhand for around the same price, I think you did quite well. I'm not getting rid of this. This is going on my shelf, and it's going to be looked at and admired because it might not do anything particularly phenomenal. But as an all-rounder, this thing earns very high marks. And sometimes that's just good enough. Besides, if Trijicons are good enough for the military, they should be pretty good for civilian use as well. Thank you very much for watching. See you again next time.